Hi, everyone. Welcome to NiteLife Exchanges, where we endeavor to discuss all things nightlife, all music and entertainment happening in New York City. And we have a great guest this week. But before we get to that, I want to bring on my co-host here. Hey, Tony.
Boom, here I am. Quick
Hey,
this
Tony.
week. Hey, how you doing, Scott?
I'm doing well, Tony. And boy, this is an exciting show today because we're going to be
Better
able
believe it.
to get to see a legend. Um, this gentleman is what I would say a quintessential New Yorker, born and raised in the Bronx. He got interested in jazz from his father taking him to see some shows, and then has been immersed in jazz for, and now getting ready to celebrate 50 years of his series, Highlights in Jazz. So before we go and bring Jack on, I wanted the audience to get a chance to see some of what Jack was doing over these years. So let's get to that first clip.
Here we go.
I'm glad to see that the far-out musical sounds haven't gone too abstract and haven't bored anyone, haven't made it difficult for you to listen. Because whether we've had Dixieland here or mainstream jazz or bop, people are coming up to me and saying, geez, I really love this music. How come I never discovered it before? So come on back. We want to hear it. Right now, a very special tribute to Charlie Parker from one of the heirs, one of the disciples, musical associate as well, Mr. Lee Konitz.
And hello, Jack.
Hey, hello.
Welcome.
It's what a pleasure to have you here, Jack. And our audience is going to find out things that they may not know, or they may know. We don't know. You've known, I'm sure thousands of people have been in your audiences over the years. 50 years worth.
50 years, 388 concerts, and concerts at other forums like foreign festivals and libraries in Long Island and things like that.
It's an amazing body of work. Jack, the one thing I want everybody that I want to say is I want to thank you, because you have been, as a producer of this series, you're truly a giver. You have put your time and energy to bring this music, jazz, and different forms of it and all to the audiences over these many years. So thank you, Jack.
That's very kind. Thank you.
You know, the one thing I can't imagine is that first show back in 1973 at the Theatre de Lys down in Greenwich Village. Lucky enough for you, you were there in Greenwich Village during that heyday.
Yeah.
When there was so many music clubs running. Just let us know, like what was
it
the
was
thing?
A different world. I was a lawyer by profession. I was, in fact, at that time, an assistant attorney general for the state of New York. And my father was a big jazz fan. He took me to Central Plaza and to Child's Paramount and a number of Jimmy Ryan's, number of other clubs where they would let an underage kid in. And a couple of musicians became friends of mine, and Bucky Pizzarelli and Zoot Sims, the saxophonist. And one day they grabbed me and they said, you love the music and you're comfortable with musicians. Why don't you take over a club or rent a hall, put on a concert, get it out of your system? So I rented Theatre de Lys for 2 shows. One would be traditional jazz primarily, and one would be modern jazz, but jam sessions. And it worked. We got great reviews. All the New York papers really went bananas. I almost lost my job because they had picture stories that said, prosecutor by day, jazz maven by night. And the attorney general wasn't thrilled with that. He said, what is it? That looks like I'm running a clown show. You don't have enough work to keep you busy. But I kept doing it. I kept the job. I outlasted him. And after the second concert, I said, hey, I think I'm going to keep doing this. And we moved to Astor Place, which was also an off-Broadway theater. I think it's still in existence. And eventually wound up at NYU and then Pace, and most recently Borough of Manhattan Community College. But it's been great. And I've had more fun, I think, than anybody. And
we're so glad you didn't get it out. We are really happy you didn't get it out of your system, Jack.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I hate to break it to you, I don't think that happened. It just didn't seem to work.
Well, they're different than other people's concerts. For one thing, I don't hire so-and-so in his trio, so-and-so in his quartet. For the most part, I put together all-star jam sessions. And every show that we've ever done has been integrated. Every show has featured at least one surprise guest, and very often more, because I'll look in the audience and there's Earl Hines, there's U.B. Blake. Jerry Mulligan surprised me once in the middle of a jam session. I hear a saxophone coming up the aisle, and it was Jerry. And it's been great. I'm coming at it from the standpoint of a fan. I've always been a fan, and I'm just so happy to be a part of it. And it's worked. It's
now
worked for years.
This one that's coming up is at the BMCC,
Tribeca Performing Arts.
Performing Arts. And what's the exact date? I think we have
February 23rd, and it's easy to remember because the year is 2023.
Okay.
And I'm very excited about this show. It may be my last. It could be my finale, although between you and me, I doubt it. And,
okay, that's an announcement now.
Making news.
Yeah, you're going to commit now, Jack. It's 50 years worth of highlights in jazz. And if you're up for it next year, you're going to do 51.
Oh, yeah. I'll do at least one concert. I don't think I'll do a whole series like we used to do, but I'll certainly do at least one concert next year.
We lost you there for a quick second. Now we have down here, this is, folks, if you're interested in getting tickets, and these shows sell out. So get your tickets for February 23rd. You go into tribecapack.org. You see that link below there. Jack, who do we have? Who do we have joining you there this year?
Okay, this is exciting. We have NEA jazz master Sheila Jordan, who's 94 years old, and she boasts that she was born the same day as Mickey Mouse, and she's still singing wonderfully. We have Gene Bertoncini, who was the first surprise guest at our very first concert 50 years ago. He's still playing wonderfully. And he's one of a number of guitarists on the show. Russell Malone is on the show. And every year, since the first year, we've saluted a living jazz legend. And Russell was one we have saluted, as was Jay Lenhart, who's also on the show. And Jay has been at more concerts than any musician, living or dead, in the history of highlights in jazz. He's been at over 30 concerts, and he's fantastic. Danny Gottlieb is on the show, and Danny, when he was just out of college, we did a children's jazz concert for the then JVC Jazz Festival in New York. Tubby the Tuba meets a jazz band. Tubby the Tuba was written by Jack Kleinsinger, a cousin of mine. Wow. And I decided for that concert that it would be good to have a young player, in addition to veterans like Clark Terry and Major Holly, Panama Francis. So I hired Danny Gottlieb, and Danny has had a great career ever since then. And he's going to be at this show. Just so many terrific people: Ronnie Ben-Hur, Harvey S., two young players who started with me when they were in college, pianist Dylan Meek from Texas, and a surprise guest. I'm going to have 4 surprise guests, and so I don't want to give his name away. I will say this: he's a guitarist, and he's had a great career.
You've given so many people.
We knew he was going to be terrific way back then.
You've given so many people, Jack. You've given so many people an opportunity by being a part of it, and then giving them.
John Pizzarelli was 15 when we had him, and Jane Monheit was a youngster. A lot of people got to start with highlights, and I try to make the concerts intergenerational, as well as mixing styles, and it's worked. It's really worked. Like we've had John Faddis play with Doc Cheatham. Doc Cheatham was, many decades older, and played in a different style, and yet they find common musical ground. And this has been a part of what I've tried to do at Highlights in Jazz. And it's apparently worked, because we've
part of the brilliance. Part of the brilliance of it is the fact that you create a space where it becomes a jam, which is so essential to the music and to make those musicians.
And yet other producers aren't doing that. At one time, it was much more common than it is today, and part of it is young players have agents who want them to work with their regular working group so that they can sell their CDs and things like that. They don't want them to be part of a jam session.
Right.
And, seems a little short-sighted. You're introducing folks to new audiences that way, artists to new audiences, different audiences. But
I know that's my argument.
It's a good one.
Thank you. Thanks.
And of course, at the end of the night, when everybody is done playing their gigs, that's what these musicians in most cases are doing, is they're getting together and doing the jam type of a setup where they're all working in one place and really just enjoying that creativity. Well,
I think that was more common back in the day than it is today. I don't think late night jam sessions are happening anymore.
Downtown, there's 1 or 2 places that I know, places like Smalls and Arthur's Tavern, and those places, obviously, these are the places that people go to drink later in the evening and have their time, when they're finally decompressing from the night. And Jack, maybe after the event on February 23rd, it's time to go out and search out some late night action. What do you think?
Well, we go to a wine bar about a block away from the theater.
All right.
It's on Harrison Street. It's called Terry Orr. And the musicians, a lot of them come back with me, and a lot of members of the audience, of course.
That's brilliant.
And, they have a limited Italian menu, but the food's good, and they stay open for us.
Nice.
After the concert.
So, Jack, all of this, I think you mentioned Danny Gottlieb, he's the person that helped put the archives together for you. Is that right?
That's right. That's right.
And Tony, can you show everybody the link if they want to really go back in the history? And there are things on there like the original poster the original advertisement.
Yes. And you can also, is that the Highlights in Jazz?
The archive.
That's the archive.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. Digital Commons. Yep.
Yeah. Well, Digital Commons, you can hear the audios from the early concerts. They have every concert from the very first one, which my father recorded on a handheld cassette player. He was a professor at St. John's University, but he loved jazz, and thank God he recorded those early concerts. Now we have them recorded by the sound man,
But what a gift that you have those all. That's wonderful.
But people can hear the audios of these early concerts on this Digital Commons site.
I really, really appreciate having you here with us today, Jack, to let everybody know. about
It's
this
fun to
event.
be here. You make me
Yeah.
feel like a celebrity.
Well, you are within a group of people. Everybody in the business at this point, probably, if you mention
Well,
they know you, you've had them either on the stage or you've been in an audience watching them because you go to jazz shows and you all the time performances and such. So,
well, it's funny you mentioned celebrity. When I was 13 and a half, I ran away. But I didn't run away like the average kid does, down the block or to a friend or a neighbor. I was heading to Hollywood. I wanted to be a celebrity, a movie star. I didn't have any particular talent. I started hitchhiking, and I did get as far as Chicago. And then I ran out of money, and
Oh my
my mother
gosh.
sent me a Greyhound ticket. I came back home. But I always wanted to be sort of a celebrity. And Highlights and Jazz did that for me.
sure
I
did.
was a lawyer by profession. I was a trial lawyer for the state. And I put on a show in court sometimes. But Highlights and Jazz really filled the need to be a part of the entertainment business.
Having been in the audiences over the years on numerous shows, not that long ago down at Tribeca, yeah, you have your moment on stage. You do your introductions, and it's these jam sessions that take place are invaluable. And so, thank you so much.
Oh,
I
thank
know
you,
I speak,
Scott.
for your friends and musicians over the years. 50 years is incredible. You heard it here, by the way. This is supposed to be the last. Every year it's the last.
Me.
But you heard Jack say here, you may have a 51 coming up.
Yeah.
So Jim Igo out there. Jim is your promoter, publicist, friend. Jack, you're going to have to answer to that. You may have to start working on next year's show.
I know. Well, 25 years ago, when we celebrated our 25th anniversary, the city of New York honored me. I got a proclamation. This is it.
Yep. Tony, you want to go full screen on that?
Manhattan Borough President.
I do.
Steve Virginia Field. And I don't think I thought it was going to go another 25 years. But who knows? Who knows?
Amazing.
In the words of U.B. Blake, if I'd known it was going to last this long, I'd have taken better care of myself.
There you go. You're doing just fine, Jack, and you're going to be up on that stage. And let's just go real quickly back to where we can how we get those tickets, Tony. There you go.
There you go.
TribecaPack.org. So, Jack, over these many years, I know as a producer, you've probably had many cases where things are happening on the stage, especially since there are so many moving parts, and you haven't necessarily known exactly what was going to happen. And then there are those moments that you're like, what's going on? How do we get back to this? We have a little clip we're going to show of a moment in one of the highlights that I'm sure that you were just hanging on. Just waiting to see how it was going to go. So we have that clip now.
This is a group from California. But, pardon? This is a, can you hear me okay? It's not on? It's on. This is a cassette here of a band in California called Super Sax Plays Bird. You've heard of that? They play, it's a group with some friends of mine in it, and I just thought it might be, for a couple seconds, you might be interested in hearing it. When? Oh. Well, I'm going to take it down a little bit maybe to hear that. This is cool right now. I have to leave it right here because I'm going to turn the sound on. Leave it right there.
want you to be able to hear this. It's on a... Please, I don't have much time. This is made by a friend of mine who happened to hear this band in a club out in Los Angeles. And this band is composed of 5 saxophones and a trumpet and a rhythm section. And all they play is Charlie Parker solos, harmonized. And it really sounds quite nice. And here it is. If you'd like to, if you can hear it, it's not a very good sound. I mean, the recording, okay? So tell me if you can hear it.
So, Jack, you took that ride with Lee Konitz and waited on that, probably waited. How's that going to go back and forth, the mics and a cassette tape recorder? Talk about old school.
You may have been concerned, but boy, the audience was absolutely in
comedy.
Ecstasy.
It's a little comedy. And it shows the way that everybody, it shows the way that everybody works together in these moments. Jack, one last thing. So, something I wanted you to say. Can you say something to the younger people in the audience about why they need to be down at the Highlights in Jazz this year? You know, what's going to draw them in there? What's the reason, huh?
Well, they're going to see some legends. I had a very nice experience in March. We had Bernard Purdy, the veteran drummer who was Aretha Franklin's musical director. And there was a 10-year-old boy sitting up front near me. So I had him and his father move over closer to me. And at intermission, I asked him if he wanted to meet Bernard Purdy. And I took him backstage. Purdy was great. And the father said to me afterwards, he said, you know, my son's going to remember this all his life. And a lot of younger people get to see legends that aren't always going to be with us. And I know that was true of me. My father took me to see Willie the Lion Smith and Henry Red Allen, and I got their autographs. And, you know, that's part of the legacy. I love to see young people in my audience. And they seem to enjoy it because it's not like anything else they're going to see or hear.
Absolutely.
Or hear, 100%.
Jack, thank you so much for joining us today. And I will see you on February 23rd down at Highlights in Jazz, the 50th anniversary. Really appreciate you joining us today. And you got your outfit all picked out for the event?
No.
Not yet, huh?
Not yet.
Not yet. So thanks a lot, Jack. Have a great night. Enjoy the rest of the night. And I'll see you there.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you so much, Tony. Really, you guys were great.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure. Thank you for hanging out with us for a while. It's a real treat.
It was a joy.
Thanks.
I'm a celebrity.
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Yes, you are. See you in February.
Great. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye now.